impressed, and they couldn't really understand how mobility was so easy and accessible to most of us. And that is something that we find normal, but that is actually quite an exceptional situation. So that's, to me, one of the main and most interesting and impressive points that come with European citizenship is the fact that you are free to move, let's say.
Does everybody hear me, or should I go with the microphone?
You can turn it off.
Okay, I'm gonna try to. So I think the experience I have as a European citizen who is not in a country that's a member of Schengen is that it's astonishing to me how easy I can move now, but not in the sense only of traveling and visiting, but also of meeting other cultures. So in Romania, when I was there, I always thought that the border is something that also defines the differences between different cultures and values. And when I came here, and in a month I could go to Brussels and Amsterdam and Paris, it was incredible to see how many similarities are between all these cultures and nations. So I think mobility is a great advantage, of course, but also it's a mindset, right? It's being European doesn't mean only to move, but also a sense of a common mindset, a common perspective on how we see things, and also, of course, certain differences that make each nation and culture special. So, yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I'm very proud to be European because if I wasn't European, then I wouldn't be able to participate in this project and in other special projects too. So it's this European identity which provides me with access to such extraordinary opportunities and projects and promotes all of my rights. And yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, like, Logan and Leah, did you feel before having all these experiences as, I mean, you're from American, but you especially traveled and came here to study, did you feel this European citizenship before, or only then when you started traveling and going abroad? Did you feel like growing up in Romania, you already feel European, and you Logan also, Romanian?
Yeah. So I think when I was a child, I didn't hear about European citizenship or the possibility to move, especially because Romania is a EU state since 2007, and I was born before that, of course. And after that, I probably because my parents weren't born or during these like very like global times. I wasn't traveling a lot. So the first time I met a person that's not Romanian was actually in high school, which is quite late. And I think probably many of you have met other like people who would have like a different nationality way earlier. And I felt very comfortable. I'm not sure if it's also like my personality that I'm open and I'm very curious, but I just felt like we're almost the same in a sense. And then when I started traveling, I was a bit afraid, of course, because there is a difference and people look a bit different and speak differently. But I feel like the influence that exists in Europe, and there are, of course, many reasons for that. It's the trust in Europe. There are many collaborations between the countries, but I think that there is such a thing as a common history that makes us all resonate to each other.
Yeah, and to react to what was said, I also think that nowadays and today, one nationality cannot come or does not go against or without European feeling. I don't know how you guys feel about Europe, but we can see it just in other places. You often in France have a French flag and a European flag right next to it, and you can stack. You can be French, proud to be French. I can be proud of being Alsatian, but that can also you know, I am also able to be proud of being European, and one does not go against or without the other. And I think that that's um, typically what our generation is really feeling much more than what our parents maybe felt, is that we are born with two nationalities, being European and being part of a member state. But yeah, I clearly think that today being French also means being a European. And I think maybe shared feeling. I mean, yeah.
Can you talk about having a feeling of belonging to European citizenship? I think that there is in fact a European citizenship, or at least a feeling of attachment to Europe. But I think that European citizenship is still a bit restricted by the changing with people and in my interest. I realize that yes, okay. You have a question? We can try this one. Oh, it's okay. So I say that I think that there is in fact a European citizenship or a feeling of attachment to Europe, but I think also that European citizenship is an object, is still an object to be constructed. By exchanging with people and with my entourage, I realize that few people truly felt truly European, or associated a positive feeling with the EU. And identification with symbol and grand narrative remains limited and unclear for many people, which contribute to people turning to their national citizenship. And I think now European identity is more constructed from above. So I mean by those involved in political and technocratic functioning of the EU, and not by the citizens themselves. So there is a gap between your preferences of citizens and institutions, which makes the existence of European citizenship limited for me.
I have a question. You mentioned this is I don't know if I understood. It's like a research or it's like the results of the, or is it your personal view?
When we see the electoral participation rates, yeah,
The parliamentary.
yes, yes, we see that there is a gap between people, between the institution, the European institution, and the preferences of the citizens. And I think it is a problem now because, yes, of course, we are sensibilized of the European Union, but many people are not in this environment, and it is complicated to understand it when we are outside of this environment, and it is very conventional and technocratic. So yes.
Yeah, maybe to react quickly to the fact that yes, I think there are many people that do not understand or that find the European institutions quite sophisticated and complicated to understand. But I think that the feeling of Europe and being European goes beyond the institutions, and people actually live Europe in their daily lives way more than they actually think. And if you typically look at someone's cart, what they purchase on a daily basis, or what they are able to do, their traveling opportunities, their mobility, that maybe we'll be talking about that later, but all of these opportunities are benefits of the EU. And that is something that is, of course, not easy for European institutions, because it's easier to talk about the bad aspects or what is negative rather than looking at the benefits that come with European citizenship and being a member of the European Union. But I don't know how most of you experience the European life or citizenship. Is it something that you take for granted? Is it something that are you forced to be or feel European? That depends on your personal behavior and opinion. But I think that it's a technical and tough question for sure with the institution.
Does education play a role for you to the current belonging? Yes, I think so. I am in a family which belong which have a feeling of Europe, and we share the values of the EU. And my parents vote in every election, European election. So I think it's a factor of the belong of the European citizenship.
I think it's also a matter of education we receive in school because, I mean, I remember the history classes I was learning about the great empires, and then I understood, first of all, the past influence of all the countries in Europe and then the present one. And so it made me understand that these things are rooted and they're very, very old. And I was seeing like some practical examples. I don't know, like people doing exchanges, like students. We had a high school in my hometown where they were coming for a year in Romania and they were going to Germany. And then, of course, projects funded by the European Union. And I think it was very present, but positively, majorly positively. And I also was thinking of what you just said, that sometimes we leave without actually realizing all the benefits. And I think that education plays a big part in actually being conscious of all these advantages. And sometimes I feel like it's missing. I feel like we're not really focusing on all the good points, the positives of being in the EU.
So we're talking about education, mobility. We will talk about mobility a bit later. But overall, because we hear some kind of mixed testimony, you can say. You were talking about how European citizenship is worked from above, and from your testimonies, I could hear maybe a chosen side on if you feel more European or your nationality. So I wanted to ask overall, including everything you can say, do you feel more European or Romanian, American, French, Greek, sorry. And that's the current question.
That's not an easy question.
Yeah, that's a hard question, and that's why we're like,
I mean, the question is maybe not more, but I think we all feel European. I hope. I guess.
I think that as I grow older, the feeling of being European is definitely more intense, and it comes through fruition. Yeah, through these projects, everything for school and education, yeah, I feel more European. And
I think for me it's part of it. It's hard for me to separate them. Like I think there are so many things in my past that I identify both as Romanian and European. So of course there are certain songs or certain references that make me think that I'm more European because other people don't get me. But I never know that. Like it surprises me how many. Like I have a group of friends here that have worked or are working close to the Council of Europe, and they know so many things because we're Easterns in a way. So we have some common values or references, and it's incredible once I hear a song and we dance in the same way. How similar we are, and we thought that it's I'm Serbian and Romanian, but essentially it's because we're European and we have like common backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question, I would say that I am a European from France that has grown with an American influence. So it's a great mixture that makes it all happen. But yeah, I of course identify as European, and it's not more or less European than French. I would say I'm a European from France. if that answers the question.
I agree with Logan. I share the same opinion.
Different layers, there's different sectors of students. That is the question. So we can move on to ability.
As I said earlier, a citizen is a person who has rights offered by the country or here by the EU. So the first right given by the treaty concerns the second theme of the evening, mobility. We have the right to move and reside freely, to work and to study in the territories of the other member states. Yeah. You're a Romanian citizen. Today you're a student at the University of Strasbourg. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a foreign student?
I will give a bit of background on that. So I did my studies, my university studies in Bucharest, and there we have an institution that's called the Collège Juridique Franco-Roman, like a very long name. We're doing both Romanian and French law, so I was studying both in parallel. The prospects, of course, are coming to France, but very few actually come. And I wondered many times why, because it's so easy. Like for me, I just applied to the masters here through the online form. I got admitted. I found myself like a rent, and I came here. I didn't have to apply for any visa, which many of my colleagues at the masters in Bucharest that were coming for example, from African countries, they had to have that, and they have. I remember one of our colleagues who did the entire year remote because he didn't got that visa. So it was so easy to me, and I think that of course there is a certain feeling of the unknown. I was a bit scared in a sense of maybe not adapting, maybe not integrating well. But again, I felt like in my past experiences, I've had those moments where I was talking to Europeans or in general just people from other EU countries, and I felt like there is that common link. So when I came here, it only got confirmed 100 times, and with people from different nationalities. And yeah, right now I'm considering even like moving around a bit, maybe doing some internships and like in this area of like Belgium, Luxembourg, France. And I think it's a privilege that I wasn't aware of until coming here. And then once I came here, I understood, like my eyes just opened and I understood how many opportunities we have. And you don't necessarily need to access them. But I think it offers a very interesting perspective of then remaining, like the option of staying or going back and sharing that different mindset or stories that you've heard.
Maybe we can have a brief perspective and think a little bit more about your yeah, really how you can hear and how was it for you?
So this project, my school participates in this project for many years now, and it gives us the opportunity to come here. However, we have to pay a great amount of money to come here and to stay all these days. So we definitely don't have any sponsor from the government or an organization. So that's the hard part of it all, the financial flexibility. Not many students um, have that, and I think that all students, despite their financial state, should get the chance to be here. So I think definitely the payment problem is crucial, and yeah.
So this has nothing. This is nothing to like an Erasmus program. There's no financing, nothing.
No, no finance.
Yeah, maybe we can actually have a reminder of the Erasmus program, the Erasmus Plus program. It is a EU program to support education, training, and youth and sport in Europe. The principle is pretty simple. It's pretty simple, yeah. If you live in any member states, you have the possibility to study in other EU states, to study or to do internship. And there are actually scholarships available to all applicants to help the finance your life there. I want to ask you, Luis, on that matter, do you feel that your school, a school that you could maybe present to us, which has a focus in Europe, encourages mobility?
Yes, of course. So the next September, I'm going on an exchange to Romania in Bucharest. So the objective of this trip for me is to improve my English, to meet international students, and to live new experiences that I will not have the opportunity to live here in France. So yes, my school encourage the exchange. We have many schools partner.
You have to slap it.
L'intervention. Il doit interagir sur le live, c'est l'intervention de Maroc.
Pause.
Hein, pause déj. Ah, c'est la pause déj. Ne soyez pas perturbés, le live va revenir bientôt à la normale. Attendez, on a un nouveau commentaire. Il va pas mieux. Bon, parce qu'on a beaucoup d'interlocuteurs.
Yes, so it's for cover the exchange students. In terms of procedure, it is a part of my curriculum. So we have the possibility during our study to go abroad, and the school has many partner university in many European countries, but also in outside the EU, so in the US, in Australia, in China. So I didn't go through the initial procedure of Erasmus. So
So not through the usual Erasmus program, but is it still, do you still get financing from the EU?
yes, I have the scholarship of the Erasmus.
Because your school is you have to pay for your school, right? It's not a public school.
No, it's private school.
So it doesn't interfere with applying for Erasmus.
Yeah, we have our proper partners, but in Europe, in the European country, we have the right to obtain the scholarship, the Erasmus scholarship. So,
And how do you choose your destination? Is there like do you always get the one you want? Do you have to apply it a certain way?
so those we have the best marks are those we get the first choice and so on. So we have to make a list of our 10 preferred countries, and according to our marks, we get the countries.
So it can be quite hard to get the destination
Yes.
you want.
Yes, of course. My first wish was to go to the US, but due to my English. But the US is very expensive and very much in demand. So I choose the Eastern European countries which are attracting more. And the culture, the people, the proximity to other countries such as Turkey, Greece, or Bulgaria to be able to travel, and also the low prices compared to France,
It's switched up again. Maybe the other one. Maybe on that hardship of getting a destination in terms of mobility in general, maybe we can talk a little bit more about online mobility. As we know, the University of Strasbourg is part of the European Alliance, which promotes mobility across Europe. Sometimes short-time mobility and online mobility or hybrid mobility, so at home, online and physical. And this rose after the period of COVID, which sets new challenges in terms of mobility. A lot of students, myself included, got mobility cancelled with COVID. And this type of mobility allows students to access classes from other universities, but also another way of teaching and learning, but also maybe to prepare teacher mobility, physical one. And in this context of COVID, were any of you impacted in terms of traveling for your studies or work or internship? General question.
So I was unfortunately I was supposed to have an Erasmus semester 2 or 3 years ago. So right when COVID hit, but that's also something that I think, like you said, really transformed and changed the Erasmus program opportunities because we had the possibility to take the semester online, so which I did, and it was also a possibility of looking at different methods of learning because in different countries we have different academic practices. So I think it was still a good opportunity, but of course, what comes with the Erasmus program is not only visiting and discovering a new country; it's also the whole experience of being surrounded with, by other Erasmus students and meeting other people from European countries, and that unfortunately you cannot do as much online. So that's the downside. But it was quite a positive experience, and that is something that really is possible with the Erasmus program to really have the different universities coordinate and have these online sessions. Yeah.
And where to?
It was Manila in the Philippines.
Oh,
So
yeah, quite far.
it was not in Europe. But that saying, the whole COVID brought the possibility of taking these classes online, which can be good for certain people, I think. Yeah.
One good aspect of it is developing this learning process. So you haven't experience or impacted?
One of my friends, I know that she applied for Erasmus to Berlin, so she wanted to go to Paris. Went for a month, then COVID came, and she came back to Romania. And I was so heartbroken because I was thinking of doing the exact same thing the next year. Couldn't, of course, but I think that motivated me to apply here. So, in any case, if you want to do an Erasmus and you don't get accepted because, of course, there is this condition of the marks and you have to have good grades, just apply where you want because I think there are very high chances of getting accepted, even though your experiences are not, let's say, common or well known in the country you're applying to. You never know just how people resonate by your letter of motivation or by hearing you in into.
Would you be interested in would you consider taking an online mobility, whether it is a whole semester or
Online?
fully online or hybrid?
I think I'm a big fan of the in person. I think that it's a great idea, especially for people who can't go or do not want to go, as we talked about, like financial abilities. But I think one part is the culture being surrounded by the people, seeing, even being like a tourist, right? So I think I would prefer an in-person one, but I think we should try at least the online one.
Yeah.
Same thing. I think it's always better in person, but of course, having these opportunities online can also allow people if you're a student from Germany and you find a very interesting master's program in, I don't know, in the Netherlands or in Spain, and you're not really available and you can't move and you can take your classes online, that allows students, I think, to really look outside of their countries for their programs, and can also maybe allow a person to really specialize themselves in a domain that is maybe not very developed in their country. So it's a good opportunity, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about vacations. The European Union has been set up a nationwide pass. It's a train ticket that allows you to travel on almost all trains in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if many of you know the Interrail program. You have this possibility of getting a free ticket when you're 18. So if you're turning 18 pretty soon, make sure you sign up, because I didn't unfortunately get selected, but many of my friends did, and they had a great time. But I had sort of a similar experience last summer, and I went around different countries with the car. It was a road trip, and I was with a friend of mine from university. So we went to Germany, we went to Switzerland, we went to Slovenia, and unfortunately, we were stopped at the Croatian border because my friend had not thought of bringing his passport. And it's just something that seems crazy, because when we're used to moving around the borders, and he didn't even think of bringing his ID or his passport. So of course, Croatia is someone from Croatia here. Yeah, so now you're in the Schengen since January 1st, so that's great. But that last summer was not the case. So it is a sad story, because we could not have our part of the trip in Croatia. But that is quite an interesting lesson and story, because that shows us that as Europeans, we're so privileged that we're not even noticing the borders we're crossing anymore, and we just think it's normal. I mean, in Alsace, you can just cross the bridge and go have lunch in Germany without any papers or any control, and that is actually not the case for most of the places on the planet, and not for every country in the EU yet. But I think that's something that, with the Interrail, you should really try and find as an opportunity to really move around without thinking of the visas and different procedures that can be sometimes quite complicated.
Do you find organizing vacations Europe?
In terms of finding accommodation, financing.
I think probably financing is like a sensitive topic, because Western countries are more expensive, Eastern countries are much cheaper, but then it's sometimes harder to find information. And Eastern countries, like for example, Romania, I know that it has multiple websites translated in English, but not all. So, but in general, I think it's quite accessible, the information. And I would also add that maybe the train is the preferred option, at least here, from what I can see, because we can like move super fast, but it's also a bit more expensive. Maybe sometimes it's not possible. So yeah, I had a question for you. What's your age? Like, is it like you're under 18 or above? Under. You should apply for the Interrail, because I think it's amazing that you have this opportunity to go for free. And of course, many of my friends do that as well. So I think that will like kind of even out the chances. Yeah.
And to react quickly, traveling in Europe is actually way easier than in other places. But of course, like any travel, you need to plan a little bit ahead of time. But I don't know if you're here in Strasbourg right now, and you notice you can normally use your phones as if you were in your home country. And that's something that's, thanks to the EU, since 2016, normally most of the phone coverage is actually works in any country, European country. So that's something that's you wouldn't necessarily typically think about, but that really makes it so much easier to travel. Same thing with the Euro countries. If you're from a member state that has the euro, you can go in 20 other states that also have the euro, and that also makes it so much easier. And actually, those are things that are, like I said before, but that seem quite normal, but that are actually quite exceptional and make our lives way easier to move and travel.
And maybe we can maybe we can move on to our last topic, which is associative work and involvement in a European context. Some of you have experience in associative work in a European context. I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to get involved in this context, and what does it bring to you in terms of life, work opportunities, education, your studies in general, and in your career or future career? Yeah.
I think at least at university there are many universities that have European associations. So law is one of those fields where you would think that maybe people are not as connected because every law in every country is different. But it is very important to understand the different perspectives of other people because, of course, in globalization everything is quite linked, even in law. And of course, we have EU law and everything. So it was important to have these links between students, teachers coming from different countries in the EU. And there's an association called the European Law Students Association where I volunteered for a year and a half until COVID happened. And it was amazing because we organized conferences and roundtables, not only for Romanian students, but also for European students. So we did an exchange with Greece. We had people coming from Thessaloniki. We had a great, like a very big conference called the Slavic conference because there were Eastern European countries. And it was very interesting to meet all these people that had like a very similar background to mine. And then keep in touch with them. So I have them on LinkedIn. I can search them online because there's like a social network, like an internal group. And it's very interesting to see what they do now, what internships they have, where they're studying. And yeah, so I think that opened my mind to the multiple possibilities that I can have. And then, of course, the interaction of with people and the I don't know, maybe the sense of purpose that a certain this type of activity brings is great to do. And I think, I don't know, for high school, maybe you have this experience and you can talk about it, but in uni is very, very popular.
Who wants to share?
I'm also a part of the Young Europeans, but I'm not going to talk too much about that point. But I'm also a scout, and that also allowed me to have many European experiences. I'm part of a troop in Switzerland. There are world jamborees every 4 years, but there are European intercamps. I don't know if some scouts are in the room and have ever been to intercamps, but those are camps with all of the scout movements from Europe that happen every year. And it's quite an exceptional moment to really meet people and talk about their vision of scouting, their vision of Europe, their vision of everything, and that to set it in a general context. With any associative work and contribution, you give, but you also receive a lot and you exchange a lot. And even more when you are engaged in a European association or in a European context, I really think that you learn a lot, and you one of the most valuable learnings is really to open your mind and get used to working with and for other cultures, and that can always be a great support for future career ambitions if you want to work in a multi or international context.
So involvement I encourage you if you have the opportunity because it's a great opportunity to develop the soft skills, the strengthen own capacity for innovation and capacity and creativity, and to create a bond of cohesion and teamwork. So yes, if I would define a associative commitment in 3 words, I think it's collective causes or purpose and exchange.
And on that, do you think that traveling across Europe and your experiences abroad, to all of you have, helped you and encouraged you, motivated you to get more involved in associated work? For example, for you, the Europeans, just traveling, did it motivate you to get more involved?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I really think that being able to travel and meet people from different European countries really makes you realize what opportunities you have as a European, and once really makes you feel like you want to engage yourself in the European project. And I think what you guys are also doing right now, is living this amazing experience here in Strasbourg and meeting people from all over Europe. And I hope for some or most of you, it creates a feeling of, yeah, okay, I'm really in a great situation, and I would like to keep on learning and exchanging and meeting people from different countries. And I think that traveling helps a lot, and it's also, I mean, always this feeling is always reinforced with an engagement and an association. So, yeah.
I wanted to say that I think for me it was quite the opposite because I was scared to travel and I didn't know people, and I was thinking that also because I am a girl, like a woman, it would be quite complicated to go by myself. And so I started keeping in touch with people because I like them, but also because I was thinking maybe if I'm going to the community, I would have people there that I could talk to and maybe guide me and show me what's a good neighborhood, what the cool places to go. So yeah, it was inverse.
And Louise, can you tell us a bit more about the reasons that, because you are an intern here at the Europeans as I am, and can you tell us a little bit more about your motivations and why you choose this internship, like this internship?
At the beginning, I had the ambition to do my internship in the administration, in the EU administration, but I soon realized that as a second year student, I might have limited tasks. So I prepared to go into the voluntary sectors, which is an active environment where you have more room. So I wanted to be useful and to serve the cause, so the sectors of involvement and association.
And maybe I could ask our panelists to maybe if they have any advice on how to get involved in European associated work. What does it bring to you? Because we, I guess, get more open-minded, more understanding, more curious when you start getting involved, when you start traveling. So, in terms of traveling and European involvement in associated work, volunteering, what would be the advice you could give to our audience today? Anybody?
Well, I mean, if you look at the Young Europeans movements, you have many in France, many all across Europe, also in countries that are not part of the EU. So you have a whole set of branches concerning the Young Europeans. But most universities, I mean, when you arrive at a university level, you often have many associations and different opportunities that are offered, which are often connected to other countries or other associations. But I think that also a great opportunity is if you have time or want to get involved in a European volunteering possibly a DSC, yeah, but at a European level, you have a whole platform online which allows you to go in a foreign state, but also at the same time learn new things in a domain that might interest you for a future job or career opportunity. So that is a great thing to think of and keep in mind.
Okay. Yes.
I think through traveling and through such products and through the interaction with different cultures and people, you um, get to realize how wide the world is and how full of possibility you are. And um, also, um, I think that everyone has a place in this world, and this project makes not only this project, but traveling and making friendships, international friendships, and interacting with other people, um, and being European makes you realize how important you are and how Europe will always be a home for you and that there's a place in Europe for you. And yeah, you can go in which country you want and you'll find your place there. And that's amazing.
It's very
But before that, could I give a little bit of a personal background for the reasoning of my question? I was born and raised in Spain for almost my whole life. And after that, I moved out to Romania. When I was in Spain, there was a feeling of connection with other countries like France, Portugal, Germany, or Italy. But when I reached Romania, this feeling was different. There was not as much of a similar culture as these countries have. There was not much of a connection to the European Union. It seemed like even if we were in the European Union, we were more by name than by culture. And I wanted to ask, do you think this is a problem for these countries less connected to the European Union? Like, for example, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, or the North countries like Estonia and Lithuania? Do you think it's a problem for these countries? And do you think the European Union should do something?
So a problem for the citizens of these countries, or
Yes, because they are not as connected to the European Union like other ones.
yeah,
And for example, we had this example of England when many citizens did not feel like part of the European Union and voted to left it. Do you think that many countries that are not as connected will end up trying to leave the European Union?
okay. So I will reply by something that I read today. Very coincidence. I was reading about how in Romania there's very different influences. So if there Romanians here, you probably are familiar with the fact that we were under three different empires. We had three different influences: Hungarian, Russian, and nowadays, and the Turkish. And so there is this, I think, internal conflict of Romanians where they belong. And EU, of course, is more Western, so maybe the Hungarian influence would be kind of like the equivalent. Um, I don't think it is a problem because this is our history and these are just values that we have in different perspectives. And if we learn to accept what is European in you and what's I don't know Turkish or Russian, but like in a sense of value, then it's not a problem. It's you probably all heard of the phrase unity in diversity, which is the idea of accepting each differences, but not by tolerance, but by empathy and kind of trying to see the other side, but not by judging it. I would say that maybe in Spain and France and Italy, they seem and probably they are more connected because they had a history that's shared for hundreds of years, which Romania does not have. But I think it's a matter. First, it's a matter of history and of time. So maybe in 50 years or 100 years, you will see a change. And then it's also a matter of accepting that there are good parts in both. There are good parts in seeing this EU influence, but there are also good parts in the other influences, and trying to pick what fits you and what suits you. For me, I don't think it has been a problem. And also, maybe you have heard that, for example, in Romania, even though there are these differences, many people are pro-EU, like maybe more than maybe in Italy. But I think it's their movements, their political views, and there are certain things that always are there, which are certain European values for sure.
I understand. Thank you very much for that as well.
Is there another question? Yeah. You can stand up, please. Could you listen to the question?
How will be improved upon the first question and what do you think it will be added to the spectrum of places? What's going missing from the group?
Is it for specific towns or?
No,
What is missing to lead towards more unity, or what exactly? That of course is a very difficult question, and that comes back to what was mentioned at the beginning concerning the institutions. Because of course, I think most of you have had some history classes on the European Union, and you've had two visions. Member states, sovereign states versus going towards more of a federalist model. So that is of course something that has an impact. Not saying that we should become more or less federalist, but saying that there are 27 national visions for one European project. So of course, working with a group of two is easier than working with a group of 27. Most of you know that. So I don't think it's a problem. It's mostly a question of time, and what should happen or should not happen is something that we will see with time. I don't think there is one path or one project that all of the countries will agree on, but it's more which path will the 27 countries decide on together. So it does not really answer your question, but that's what I think is the best answer. It's really what the 27 countries want to do together and what they don't want to do together, and that is with what is going to build their vision or their European project.
Louder or maybe without just the idea.
In career or while you're here, like as a group.
Maybe European?
Yes. are in other places in Europe. So they are here to talk and yeah, popularize the topics around Europe. And
European citizenship, European federalism in Europe and outside Europe. So, for example, countries that were not actually part of the EU. Um,
Yeah, I mean, what the association does, there are many, many things. If you are interested in writing articles, there are a lot of opportunities in organizing events. There are big simulations that are organized once or twice per year in Strasbourg, of course. Each section decides what they do, but basically the Young Europeans as a group, that's what Alex just said, is really to talk about Europe to different publics and trying to target either people like you that are really, have a sensitivity, and that know a bit of Europe, but also talking about Europe to people that are less informed and trying to talk about the benefits and promoting the European Union and the vision. And there are very many ways actually of being involved in the association, and I think maybe we can, some of you are interested in having more information, we can talk about the different possibilities afterwards, after the talk.
More questions? Is there any more questions? Yeah, doctor? Okay. They will stay for life, so if you have questions right now. No? Hungry and tired. So, thank you very much for being here tonight. It was a pleasure to welcome you at the European Institute of Strasbourg. During this conference of the European Student Council, I both hope we're gonna have students who are gonna get committed into young Europeans in their own countries, and also the young Europeans will also count on your support for the European Student Council project, which is a project with they have 10 years, in 2 years. So yeah, we need support. We need support from the students who took part in the European Student Council. And before we're gonna have lunch, we are gonna have dinner. Just a reminder from the director of the European School told me, yes, we have students who are already adults, who are already 18, but the French law is very strict in that. So under the status of students, there's no alcohol admitted. Thank you for understanding.
S'il vous plaît.
After dinner,
S'il vous plaît.
you serve the organization.
Asseyez-vous.
They did a lot of work. They set up all the tables by their own. After dinner, 3-person, 4-person per table, just took up the tables, bench. It's gonna be everything.